Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Oh, sorry, I've got an itchy nose. In this crazy world we're living in, I'm just taking my tea bag out of my tea. So it is Vicky Marie with a cup of tea today. How are you all? Is it Monday today? Oh, it's that Monday morning feeling. Anyway, hello, hope you're all well. Hello from still a little bit of a chilly Spain. It's 15 degrees. It's not that chilly. My voice is going. Can you hear it in my voice? Maybe I've been using it too much today. I had quite a lot of classes. Hopefully the tea will help it. So I'm here in this video to tell you a little bit of an update about Gus Lamont. We've been following this very mysterious case of this little 4-year-old boy, the little cherubic face, who's gone missing mysteriously. Poof, vanished into a puff of smoke, it feels like, but of course we know that doesn't happen. So he's somewhere. I was going to say someone knows where he is, but not necessarily anyone knows where he is. But he is somewhere, isn't he? And this little boy lives in Yunta in Australia, near Adelaide, on a very, very remote sheep shearing station. And that's where he lives, or lived, or hopefully still lives, with his 2 grandmas, his mum, and his baby brother. So they all live on this sheep shearing station. As I say, very, very remote. It's quite an unorthodox family dynamic, if you like. Depends how you look at it, really. He has 2 grandmas because one of his grandmas transitioned to a woman quite about 10 years ago. But they're still together. So Josie transitioned to a woman, but is still with, I don't know if they're a couple or they're just together for convenience. But so they're 2 grandmas now rather than a granddad and a grandma. And also his mum, who lives on the sheep shearing station with his little brother as well. But they are, his mum and dad are together still. Their relationship is, they're still together, but they live separately. So the father was living about 2 hours away, doing up a house to hopefully eventually move the family, his wife and his 2 children, into this new home. He's reportedly had a bit of a contentious relationship with Josie, the grandma that's transitioned, and he didn't think the children should be living on this remote place. He thought it was dangerous, apparently. Anyway, it's proven to be dangerous because little Gus has disappeared into thin air. So it was a Saturday evening around sort of tea time, around 6ish. He was playing outside in the sand pit, apparently, while one of his grandmas was at the sheep, actually away shearing sheep, or at the sheep shearing station bit of the property with his mum, and he was being looked after by his other grandma, but she was looking after him and his little brother. He was outside playing in the sandpit, and when she went to call him in for tea, he'd gone, disappeared. And, the police are saying they think he's wandered off. But this is quite a while ago now, isn't it? I'll find the exact date in a moment. Not a trace of him has been found. No clothes. Let's see, what actual date was it? September the 27th. So looking at a month ago, nearly a month to the day. 2 months, yeah, because of course September, October, November, yeah, 2 months ago, this little boy went missing. So it doesn't look very positive, does it? You know, if he did wander off, you can't see that he could have survived on his own for all that. He couldn't have survived. Let's be honest. If the little boy wandered off, he cannot have survived on his own all that time. And there's been several searches made for him. It's very difficult. It's quite a sparse terrain. You know, but drones have gone out there. They've had dogs out there. They've had the army out there searching. It's very dusty. It's huge area. Anyway, so despite intensive searches, this little boy has not been found, and not only that, no trace of him, except for one boot print. You know, it's one of these where, you know, one boot print found. Why only one boot print? You know, so anyway, you could drive yourself mad wondering what had happened to this boy, because nobody knows at the end of the day. So then there's been, you know, a lot of controversy because remember when the Daily Mail reporter turned up, you know, to be fair, shouldn't have turned up, just unexpected at their doorstep. They're obviously very private people. And Josie, the grandma who has transitioned, got really angry and came out with a gun and, you know, shouted at them and everything. And, you know, I think the Daily Mail in particular have been to great pains to cast aspersions on the family. No, you know, in cases like this, quite often it is the family that's behind disappearances of children. And it could turn out that way. But we don't know that. The police are still saying they think he wandered off. The other thing that's all a bit strange is when was he actually last seen? You know, it's thought that he was, apart from by the family, he may not have actually been seen since March. You know, so this again, because it's such a remote place, you know, why would anybody see him really, except when he was at school? And he was, I think he'd gone to a preschool sort of like meeting. He was probably due to start school, you know, so otherwise in a remote place like that, why would anyone see him, you know? But so, yeah, it's, you know, the family of, you know, I feel for the family, because if they've got nothing to do with his disappearance, it must be doubly heartbreaking to lose your child, your grandchild. And not only that, but then people are looking twice at you as if maybe you had something to do with it. So I just hope, you know, that one way or another, Gus is found and this mystery can be solved. Because you know what, if Gus is never found, this family will be under suspicion forever, and it may be undeserved suspicion. So yeah, so it's a very strange, mysterious and very sad case, because this little boy, look at his little face, you know, where is he? Where is this boy? Anyway, so the update that I'm going to tell you about in this video is that the police are going back again to search some mine shafts that apparently they didn't know that were there before. So we're going to talk about that. Also, though, we're going to talk about another investigator who says there is no evidence that Gus did leave the homestead. So we're going to look at that as well. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. I didn't put my banner up, did I? My thank you banner. And thank you all for watching, for liking, for subscribing, and especially for caring about little Gus. Thank you to my members. Special thank you to my members. I'm looking forward to this Thursday. We're going to have a little Christmas special, aren't we? Like a pre-runner to Christmas this Thursday. Don't forget to wear your Christmas jumpers. I'll be wearing a Christmas jumper anyway. So yes, special thank you to my members. Special thank you to those of you who buy me Ko-fis, PayPal me, send nice emails, send super stickers, etc. All the lovely things you do to support my channel, all the positive things you do to support my channel. Thank you so much. So hi there, lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Hi there, replay crew. Thank you for watching too. Thank you all for caring about this little boy. And now I'm going to come into the chat and see who's there. This is a bit of an impromptu chat, and also I don't normally do lives at this time, but it's quite a good time really for me, but we'll see. I need to really set what's the word I'm looking for, like a program, don't I, really, a timetable, but I'm always a bit ad hoc, aren't I, about things. But anyway, hi David and Angel. So it's David and Angel so far. Yeah, very mysterious. Very, very mysterious. I think, you know, this case reminds me of the Jack and Lily Sullivan case, a very similar scenario. But though I do think that one's even more mysterious because 2 children going missing. Just, you know, very strange, isn't it? And you can't believe that children could, or the amount of children that go missing. Just think, God, you know, you cannot imagine it. So we'll see in a moment this homestead place. It is very, very remote. I can see how you could relax because it's so remote and you'd think that nobody would come there to abduct your child. But that also you can see by looking at it, it looks dangerous. It does look dangerous because there's a million things that children, you know what children are like, you know, they can get into things, and it just looks like there's a million possible ways that a child could get hurt on this homestead when you look at it. I don't believe that that he ran off. Well, because you'll see in a moment, not how far could he have gone. He's only 4 years old. Even if he is quite a good little runner, and I know, you know, kids are quick and stuff, I just don't believe he would have run off. I honestly don't. I think he would have been too scared to run off unless he got distracted by something. But anyway, we'll see. So first of all then, let's have a look what this article says about these mine shafts. So suddenly now they're talking about these mine shafts that the police say they didn't know about before. Seems odd, doesn't it? Abandoned mine shafts in the area. So they're going to do this. Today is the 24th of November. They're preparing to do this on the 25th, which is tomorrow. So it'll be through the night as far as, you know, I'm in Spain, so it will be daytime in Australia when I'm in my bed. They'll be preparing to go and search these abandoned mine shafts. I just hope they find him, to be honest. You know, even if it's the worst news, just to find him and bring a resolution to this. And not only that, if his family are under suspicion in the court of public opinion because they've acted, well, particularly the GMA, Josie, you know, that anger that she showed with the gun when she went out to the Daily Mail reporters, you know, it hasn't won her any friends, has it? Although I don't expect she cares about what people think of her. But it just looks so scary, you know, and it just makes you think. But she was supposedly not there at the time anyway. She was at the sheep shearing station with Gus's mum, and it was the other grandma, Shannon, who was looking after Gus at the time, apparently. So investigators working on the Gus Lamont search are preparing to return to the remote sheep station near Yunta, South Australia, where the 4-year-old disappeared in a renewed bid to provide answers to his heartbroken family. We are determined to explore every avenue in an effort to locate Gus and provide some closure for his family. I mean, I think it's more or less given now that they're not expecting to find Gus alive. And that was South Australian Police Deputy Commissioner Linda Williams who said that. These searches will either locate evidence or eliminate these locations from further investigations by the task force. So starting tomorrow, Special Tasks and Rescue Star Group officers, along with investigators on Task Force Horizon, will use specialised equipment to search a series of mine shafts recently discovered by police. The 6 uncovered and unfenced shafts that will be searched over the next 3 days, so they're planning on 3 days of searching, lie between 5.5 kilometres and 12 kilometres from the homestead where Gus was last seen by his grandmother on the evening of September the 27th. Would he have travelled that far? I don't know. Anyway, this was the dam. They drained the dam, didn't they, to search for his body, and found nothing. So they haven't found his hat because he was wearing a hat. All they've found is this one footprint, boot print. They haven't found anything else. So where's his hat? Where are his clothes? You know, if he'd been taken by an animal, which has been suggested, wouldn't there be some trace of a struggle, you know, his maybe bloody clothes or something like that? So, yeah, but nothing. They found nothing. So apparently this is an area known for wombat holes as well. So previously, the police did conduct extensive ground searches on the 60,000 hectare property in the hopes of finding the little boy to bring closure to his family. However, these searches have returned no trace of Gus anywhere. To date, 95 square kilometres of the property has been searched on foot, while a further 470 square kilometres has been searched by mounted units and Polaire. Because they used drones as well, didn't they, and went over. I mean, they've really tried to find this boy. Can't say it's by lack of trying that they haven't found them. They've had the army out, all sorts of things. So, reacting to the news on social media, many users are surprised that police were not aware of the mine shafts on the property. Now, to be honest, I'm sure I can remember right at the beginning of this mine shafts being talked about, but maybe not. They had to know there were mine shafts, one user commented. It's been mentioned by South Australians in the comments section of most news outlets' social media pages since the start of this investigation. And the director of the Australian Missing Persons Register, Nicole Morris, previously told Women's Day, Gus could have fallen into a wombat hole or possibly a mine shaft. Now, wombats are quite big. They grow really big, actually. And they dig big holes. So he could have fallen into a wombat hole or a mine shaft. Of course he could. Anything's possible, isn't it? A tracker that I have spoken to said it could have been a wombat hole. The area is not well known for them, but there are wombats in South Australia. Gus could have fallen into some sort of undetectable space. I mean, he could have done, couldn't he? So this is his mum and dad. So this is his dad, Joshua, and his mum, Jessica. Now, don't forget, Josh would spend quite a lot of time, I think, at the homestead. But generally, he was living away from there and doing up this other house, I think with a view of moving his family there in the end. The property, the sheep shearing station, belongs to it's Jessica's mum and dad, who is now her two mums that she has, because Josie has transitioned. They own the property, don't they? They own the actual property. And, you know, there's been talk that he was staying there up to when Gus went missing. But they're not separated. They're together. But they live apart, apparently. It's not uncommon these days, is it? So, yeah. I mean, his poor mum, poor Jessica, you know, God knows how she must be feeling, you know, to lose a son like that. Or to not know what's happened to him. I mean, it must be awful. Anyway, so they're still saying no evidence of foul play. As South Australian police continue the search for the shy but adventurous 4-year-old boy, Deputy Commissioner Williams says they will continue to look at all locations of interest to try and locate Gus. I mean, I don't think they're going to give up on this search. I mean, he's got to be there somewhere, hasn't he? If they've decided that he can't have been abducted, or it's unlikely that he's been abducted, then he's got to be there somewhere, hasn't he? You know, he's got to be there somewhere. I think he may be found closer to home, but he may have had a terrible accident, and they may just have missed him. I just don't know. So she also confirmed that Task Force Horizon are conducting multiple lines of inquiry, which have not returned any evidence of foul play. While Gus's heartbroken family wait desperately for answers, they are being supported by a victim contact officer and their local community in Yunta. And a few days after Gus disappeared, family friend Bill Harbison delivered a statement on behalf of Gus's devastated loved ones, and we saw that video. This has come to a shock to our family and friends, and we are struggling to comprehend what's happened, he said. Gus's absence is felt in all of us, and we miss him more than words can express. Oh, our hearts are aching, and we're holding on to hope that he will be found and returned to us safely. I hope so. I really hope so, but it just doesn't seem likely, does it? You can't see how he can be found safe and sound after all this time, because he cannot have survived. He just can't. You know, he's 4 years old. He can't have survived. Anyway, so that's the update as far as the searches are concerned. Now we're going to look at what this other guy says in the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail are quite down on the family, I think. And that the GMA, she did get angry with that reporter. She was out there with a gun. She said she was out there shooting snakes on the porch, which I don't believe that's true, but I think she just lost her temper and played right into the Daily Mail's hands, because that gave them a really good story, a really good video showing Josie to be quite sort of aggressive. But the Daily Mail turned up at her door, you know, unexpected, and she's probably at the end of a tether, you know, so doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. I mean, the thing is, I suppose really, if you think of it in a different way, if the family had done something to Gus, normally families that do something to children or anyone, they're normally more cooperative, you know, because they're trying to put on a face of a concerned family. Do you know what I mean? Like, surely Josie, you know, that's the way it's like a reverse psychology thing, the way we can look at it. Would she not have been more would she not have not got so angry, if you like? Because that's like putting an arrow pointing at your head saying, I'm suspicious because I got really angry. Would she, somebody who is deliberately trying to cover something up, maybe you could think they would be more sensible than that, than getting angry and getting a gun out and everything. And maybe she just lost it because she literally is emotionally at the end of her tether. So anyway, it's another way of looking at it, I suppose. So this veteran private investigator, Ken Gamble, has said on the Daily Mail podcast, which I think we might listen to, or some of it, just it's 40 minutes long. So I don't know, maybe, we'll see. If you get yourself a cup of tea, maybe we'll listen to it. Can't decide what to do. But anyway, well, let's read the article first. So he says there's a lack of evidence that he ever left the grandparents' homestead. I don't think he left the homestead. I really don't. That doesn't mean to say that I think the family did anything to him. I just think the answer lies closer to home. Anyway, he said if a widened search for missing 4-year-old Gus produces no evidence of his whereabouts, alternative theories must be explored. Because despite one of the largest search efforts in the country's history, involving the Australian Defence Force, helicopters with thermal imaging, and Aboriginal trackers, they've thrown everything at this search. No trace of Gus has been found 8 weeks after his disappearance. And the boy was last seen by his grandmother playing on a mound of dirt outside in the early evening. And when she returned 30 minutes later, that's quite a long time, isn't it, to leave a 4-year-old unattended? Don't you think? 30 minutes to leave a 4-year-old child unattended. It is a long time. You might leave him for a minute where you just went into the house, I don't know, got the baby, because of course his little brother was there. She was looking after 2 children. But 30 minutes is a long time, I think, to leave a 4-year-old child unattended. Even in the house, to leave them in a room while you go off into the kitchen. You'd want them in your sight, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you, 30 minutes is a long time. So a lot can happen in 30 minutes. A lot can happen in 5 minutes. Look at Jamie Bulger. His mother only took her eye off him for a couple of seconds and he was gone. I think they've been maybe lulled into a false sense of security because this property is so remote, just not even thinking for a minute that any harm could befall him. But I don't know, I still think 30 minutes is a long time to leave a 4-year-old child unattended. So yeah, they've thrown everything at it. The army's been out there, helicopters with thermal imaging, Aboriginal trackers. But the police are still not treating this disappearance as suspicious. So the lack of footprints, any items of clothing or remains has been described as unusual by authorities, given the 150,000 acres of land that have been searched by ground and air. Yeah, there's normally something, isn't there? I don't know. Anyway. Poor little thing. So this is it. Look, we've only got to look at how remote it is. And also looking at that, to me, how many dangers are there? You've got the house and you can see this stuff all around this. I don't know, it looks like there's a million things that are dangerous for children. Now you can see, where would he have... I presume he's always lived there. He knows this property well. I'm sure it's been drummed into him. Don't go far, don't go far. Why would he that day have wandered off, or did he get it distracted? Maybe there was an animal that distracted him, if he saw a kangaroo or something and thought he would go after it, and then he might have got lost and not been able to get back to the house, I suppose. But, you think he'd have to go quite a long way because it's not wooded land. Like, if you ran off up this road, you'd still be able to see the house, wouldn't you? Where would he go to that he wouldn't be able to see the house when he decided it was time to come back? Gosh. Or, as some people have suggested, and it is, it's a possibility that I'm sure the police have looked into. Every possibility has to be looked into. Was that really how he went missing? If he'd not been seen by anyone outside the family since March, how do we know that it was on that particular night that he went missing? The only thing that straight away I thought when this case came up, and I don't know, I don't know that it's true, or I'm just saying, just a thought that came into my head, because when he went missing, it was after Jack and Lily had gone missing. And Jack and Lily, there was the boot prints found, and then in this case, there's one boot print found. It just thought, well, that's funny. Two missing children's cases, and in both cases a boot print's been found. I don't understand why you would find one boot print when a child goes missing. Just find one boot print random. It just doesn't make sense to me, that, to be honest. But anyway, so this is the guy, Ken Gamble, a professional private investigator, who is saying there's currently a lack of evidence he ever left his family's homestead. So he's a private investigator and chair of IFW Global, a cybercrime prevention firm. And he's the one who's saying there's a lack of evidence he ever left his family's homestead. However, he cautioned the general public not to jump to any conclusions, expressing his full confidence in the police's investigation and stating, "We simply do not know," and that's it, we do not know. Lack of evidence of him walking away from the homestead, a lack of footprints. That may indicate that someone removed him from that location. It's always a missing persons case until it's proven otherwise. We've had many cases where people have disappeared in what I believe was foul play, but the police maintain these are still missing persons cases. And the bottom line is that nobody knows, and nobody will be able to guess. The work has to be done. If Gus is not found in a 5-kilometre range and a grid search is done, that's evidence to show you he probably hasn't walked away. Then you'd start looking at the other alternatives. So theories to explain his disappearance range widely, from falling into a wombat burrow to abduction, though police have found no evidence of foul play. It's like you go round in circles with this case, talking about all the different options. And it's true what he said, we just don't know. Because, of course, the police probably, hopefully, know a bit more than we do. But is there more to this story? That's what I just thought that very first time when it came up and they said about the boot print. I thought, oh, that's funny. That's like the Jack and Lily case. And it just crosses your mind. Had they seen about that case? But then why would they see about that case? They're all the way over there in Australia, unless they like true crime, why would we know about both of those cases? Because we take an interest in true crime. But there'll be loads of people who don't know anything about the Jack and Lily case, especially if they're in a different country, because it won't come up on their news. And then, just thought, have they seen about that case? And then they thought, it could be a boot print in this case as well. It could be a completely contrived story to explain away something else. But listen, the thing is, if we're thinking that it might be that, you can bet your bottom dollar the police will have considered that as well. So the official police theory remains that Gus simply wandered off and got lost. Authorities described him as an adventurous child and a good walker, although he had never previously left the family property alone. I just can't see that he's just walked away from that property. Anyway, Gamble suggested that during the initial search, police could have underestimated the distance the 4-year-old was able to travel by foot. And by the time the search area was expanded, the private investigator theorised that Gus may have sought shelter in a difficult-to-reach location that searchers missed. Now, he could have, you've got to presume that if he'd gone off and got lost and couldn't find his way back, I really hope that didn't happen, because you can just visualise how terrified this little boy would be as it was starting to get dark. I just can't even think about it, because it's just going to upset me too much. I don't know what's happened to Gus, but I hope he wasn't wandering around there in the dark, frightened to death. Just a horrible thought, isn't it? And, took shelter. Would a 4-year-old think? What would a 4-year-old do if they were out in the dark like that? They would cry for a start, wouldn't they? Surely that he would cry for his mum, or and sounds carry there. I've never thought about that before, actually. But he'd have to be bloody far away, wouldn't he? If he'd got lost, if he'd wandered off and got lost. To me, the first thing a 4-year-old's going to do then, when they realise they don't know how to get back, is cry and call for their mum, scream for their mum. That's what they do. And in a place like that where sounds carry, surely he would have been found, wouldn't he? He would have been heard screaming, crying. Sounds carry across those wildernesses, and they were looking for him, of course. That Saturday first, if this is all true, he went missing on the Saturday evening, and they were searching for him. Wouldn't they have heard him crying? So if he must have had some sort of an accident if he did wander off, because otherwise he would have been crying. He would have heard them shouting for him. They would have heard him crying like a 4-year-old would be, and he would have been found. So something's befallen him, whether it be foul play or accident, something to stop him from crying out and being discovered. Anyway, he says he would have searched in a much wider range than 2 kilometres. So apparently that's what they searched initially, wasn't it? 2 kilometres, and he says they might have underestimated the distance he could travel by foot. I don't think they did, to be honest. I think he would definitely be in that. No, but you see how open it is. How could they not have found him that first day if he was shouting, crying? And it's very open, isn't it? Even a 4-year-old, if they were wandering across this, you would spot them, wouldn't you? So he says that radius is a long way for a little boy, but I don't think we can underestimate how far a boy of that age can walk if he's disorientated and determined. I don't want to call it a mistake, but it was possibly an oversight. I would have done 5 kilometres. Yeah. The thing is, these ex-police and what have you, they're always full of they're always full of what they would have done and how they would have done it better. This is what gets me sometimes about, you know, police commentators, like ex-police who come on and commentate mainly to criticise the current police, don't they? You know, it's easy for him to say all that now, but so he said, in that terrain, there are places where people can disappear. I think there's a possibility he's gone to a location. Maybe sought shelter, and essentially perished in that area. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if the dogs are swapping over, just making sure they've gone up. Rocky.
Good boy. Oh, good boy. Come. Good boy.
So he could be hiding somewhere, and it might be very hard to find that location. If he's deceased, you would literally have to stumble across it before you find the body. So it's always harder to find a body than it is a living thing, isn't it? You know, it's always harder, isn't it? And he'd be such a tiny little body as well, of course. But they've been searching for him. I can't believe they wouldn't have found him if he was there. So he said that while police maintain his disappearance is a missing persons case, investigators would not publicly reveal if they were pursuing alternative theories, as doing so could compromise the investigation. So to be fair, the police have said they're exploring other avenues too, even though they think that it's probably likely that he, as far as they're concerned, that he wandered off, that they are pursuing alternative theories. He said, let's say there was a suspicion it was an abduction, the police would be looking at all the potential suspects and saying, how could it have been carried out? Are there any vehicles going into the area at that time? There's a lack of see, they haven't got CCTV there, but you would hear vehicles, surely. You know, the family would have heard vehicles going into the area at that time. But there's not really any neighbours, are there? You know, I don't think anybody else would have. Are there any witnesses that might have seen something suspicious? No, because there's nobody there, because it's like in the middle of nowhere. All of that, they're not going to give that information to the public because they don't want a potential offender to be tipped off. We've got to be very careful not to speculate. Just because police have not said anything, that doesn't mean there may be an alternative theory that they are investigating. So what do we think? It's very mysterious, isn't it? Very, very mysterious, this case, I think. Very, just the same as I just want to put a picture of Gus up there. Just the same as the Lily and Jack case is mysterious. This case is mysterious too, So anyway, I'm sure you'll all let me know what you think, and we'll see what this search brings tomorrow of the mine shafts, etc. Let's hope it brings some resolution to this family. It's not going to be a good resolution, whatever happens, is it? You can see that. But anyway, okay. So thanks for watching. Thank you for caring about Gus. I'll see you really soon, as always, in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye. Right, I've got to set my video. Bye.